Welcome to the Executive Committee for the 31st District Agriculture Association. This is Thursday, September 23rd. We have a Zoom meeting, which is allowed by governor's orders, which incidentally have been updated on an emergency basis over this last week, extending that due to the health emergency. Extended to the end of January. So in the interest of protecting the health of staff and the public, we are holding this as a teleconference, is how they like to refer to it, and this is a Zoom meeting. So let's see, we'll do a call to order, and I would like Heidi to call the roll. Normally, we just noticed that the committee is here, but for those who are only on by phone, we'll do all votes and roll call by roll call, please.
President Cornejo?
Here.
Vice President Lacayo?
Here.
And Director Long?
Here.
Great, all members are present. We have our quorum. I would like to mention at the beginning of this meeting a couple of things on the agenda. One is that inadvertently, they were incorrectly numbered. There is no number 5 or 6 on our agenda today. So it wasn't something that was there and removed. It's just a typo in creating this agenda. So we will have items 4 and then move on to 7 as the agenda goes. And the other is to advise, because this is a change, we have been consulting with legal at the state level regarding our concerns about the chat box on Zoom, which will remain closed for our meetings. And the reason for this is potential Bagley-Keene open meeting laws, which forbid communication between the public and the directors ourselves during the meeting, except as speaking as in our turn when called upon. And everyone will be given their opportunity to speak as public at the appropriate time for each topic. As a state agency, we recognize that this is a potential violation of Bagley-Keene, but we are allowed to remedy that. And so from here forward, we will not have the chat box open. And again, one reason or example of many is the fact that a number of people, including directors, have been on this call by phone, and therefore there is no transparency because they have no access to comments in chat box. So, so for that reason, again, everyone will be allowed their appropriate time to speak as public, and we welcome that, but the chat box will be closed. And again, this was in consultation with our with legal consultation at the state level. Okay, so we move on. The other thing I'd like to, it looks like we have somewhere around 40 to 50 people on the call. With public comment, that means potentially maybe 30. Not everyone would speak, but a good many will want to speak at one point or another on the agenda. And so the president is allowed to change the amount of time for public comment. And so we will be reducing that to 3 minutes, which potentially leaves us at maybe 90 minutes or so approximate in public comment through the meeting. We welcome everyone's opinion, but we would hope that you can keep the comments to the 3 minutes because we will be timing those. And this is out of courtesy for everyone's time and so that we aren't all completely worn down to take care of the business of the meeting, but we do want to hear everyone's comments and opinions on the items presented on our agenda. So with that, let's see. First, after roll call, we have public comments, and these are for items that are not related to anything that is on the agenda for today. So these would be, we're accepting public comments at this time. So if it's a little unwieldy here on a teleconference to pick and choose who speaks when, so we'll do our best here. But if you can, we have both Sarah Pell here with us and Heidi helping us track those. So if you'd like to speak at this time, either raise your hand on the screen, or there may be a button where you can raise a hand, and we'll make sure that all public comments are taken care of before we move on. I will declare when public comments are closed, but giving everyone fair notice so that we manage to hear everyone. So speaking more than I usually do, but we're just laying out the process and procedure as we have been advised to keep this a legal open meeting and protect everyone's rights. So if anyone would like to make public comment on anything that is not on the agenda at this time, is there anyone? Just please raise your hand.
I think Kathy Moore has something to say.
Okay, so if you can let her in and start the time. Oh, you're on mute. Time doesn't start until you're unmuted.
There
you go.
There you go. I'm on my phone. I don't know how to do this. I at this time have the paperwork that Troy Rutherford had worked 3 weeks on in 2019 for all the fencing and the different items that we're going to need as our upcoming year for the fair in the large livestock. And do not know the protocol, who to get in touch with so that we can get the meeting and get these things ordered with the money that they have in their foundation.
That is more of a question than a comment, so it can be referred to staff or quickly answered. Barbara, do you have a quick answer on that, on procedure or a referral?
No, we haven't started ordering any items or even thinking about ordering any items yet. We're going to start working on our budget for 2022, which will be sent to the board in November. So if anyone has a wish list, until I have a staff member here to take it, please send me your wish list to email. It's much better if I have it on a piece of paper. I will pass it on to the proper superintendent of any particular department, and we will consider it during budget time.
Okay.
Anyone else that would like to make public comment on anything that is not on the agenda today?
Leslie, I would.
That is...
Megan,
All right, look at it.
Ag Kids.
Pardon me?
Megan from 805 Ag Kids.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Megan. Sorry, it's two screens too. So that's why I need help tracking. All right, please. Heidi, fill time and go ahead, please, Megan.
I would just like to make a request to see what legal decision was made about the chat comments, and so that we understand why our voices are being shuttered. And also would like to ask if our request to have last meeting's chat entered into the minutes was approved or acknowledged, because the problem with sending emails to the fairgrounds is we never hear back and there's no accountability on your end for the things we request or ask or volunteer to do. And I would just like to have some transparency there so that we understand the rules and how it applies to Bagley-Keene, which we have been researching and studying up on since it's brought up several times within these meetings, every meeting, as an excuse for us not to communicate.
That Megan, let's move on. And again, if I can reiterate, the purpose of Bagley-Keene is to keep our meetings legal and the communications be transparent and open to everyone. And there is an appropriate time on the meetings for public to speak. And that is what we are preserving. So I see Scott, you have a comment. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. Kind of following up on what Megan just said, I requested a week ago on the Public Records Act to get some information from the fairgrounds. I copied both you, Leslie, and Barbara on that email. That was subsequently forwarded to the state, the legal department, and I received information from the state legal department this morning that in fact, the 31st DAA has not given them what they need, and it's now been a week. And you refer to Bagley-Keene a lot, and I copied that in my email to you this morning, that Bagley-Keene says that I should get that information right away and without delay. And we're a week into this now, and there's been no response at all. So there's been a lot of times where we've sent, emails, we've said things, and we don't get response. So I'm going to follow up on what Megan said. If you're going to constantly ask us to send requests or questions, then we're happy to do it. But to send them and then not get a response just absolutely isn't the way to go. And you keep referring to Bagley-Keene. We're very familiar with all that and all the legal components now. So my question would be, how come when we make a request a week ago to get information that's supposed to be readily available without delay, that we still a week later don't have that information?
So I
I'm
think
gonna
Sarah is asking to respond,
Okay,
Barbara.
good. Thank you.
I just want to clarify, there's a difference between Bagley-Keene and PRAs. If you submit a public records request, then the department that receives that has a 10-day time frame to get that turnaround. And if it's excessive documents, then that can be looked at to see if that 10 days cannot be met. But when it comes to Bagley-Keene and items being received promptly, that is normally associated with items that are directly in the board packet. And so if it's so Bagley-Keene and PRA are completely separate. So once you put in a PRA, our legal department will look at it and there's a 10-day window. There is no immediate response. There's a difference there.
Okay, so thank you for that. So we're at 7 days at this point. I asked the state to give me an update on when I would get the information. They said they're waiting for information from the 31st DAA. So I still am asking. I'm 7 days into a 10-day period. Got 3 days to go. Are we on it? Are we going to get that done?
Sarah?
And our legal department will be the contact for the PRA. They handle all of our PRAs. And then there will be, if the 10-day notice is not met, there'll be an explanation why. If it's limited staff or an excessive document, some documents all have to be reviewed by legal to ensure nothing has to be redacted as well. But our legal department will be in contact with you on that PRA to help get that solved.
Well, the issue isn't your review of it because you haven't gotten the documents that are due to them from the 31st DAA. So you're waiting on the 31st Ag District, and that's who we're talking to. So it's not your issue, it's that we're not getting it locally to your office so that you guys can review it and redact anything that you need and have legal take a look at it. I understand that part. I want to know how come our local fairgrounds and our board is not supplying the information that is supposed to be sitting at the state level within that 10-day period.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. I don't want to back and forth here because public comment's not for back and forth. So hopefully I've answered some of your questions. The DAA is working on supplying those documents.
Okay.
Sarah, and thank you, Scott. Okay, so anyone else with public comment on items that are not on the agenda? And I'm looking at both screens.
I think Kinsey had her hand up before. I don't know if she still does.
I believe I'm speaking on the next year's fair date, so that would be an agenda item, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone else? Last call, want to make sure it's very clear that we invite all members of the public to speak. But at this point, it is items that are not on the agenda. So with no other hands, and please help me, everyone, with double sets of eyes to make sure that we're not missing any requests at this point, because at this point, then we will declare the public comment closed and then move on to item 3, which is discussion and possible action regarding 2022 fair dates. Should we have public comment first, or I think we need to have public comment first, or should we have the issue brought up first?
Sarah?
I would have the issue brought up. You guys can discuss it and then public comment before action.
Very
Okay.
well. Thank you. Okay, Barbara?
Okay, we've been working on dates for quite a few months now. And as I said before, we're looking at where we fit into the schematic of other fairs as well, because we don't want to overlap a fair. We've overlapped Orange County for a number of years, and I'd like to get out of that time frame. Now, one of the things that we noticed in the last few days was this is a policy issue. Our policy says that the fair dates will be at 12 days in the months of July or August. I'd like to take that to the board and add September to that, just to give us the leeway to be able to move our dates around if it's at all necessary. We just had a fair that had to cancel their fair dates because of the COVID restrictions in Los Angeles. And we're not sure what they're going to do next year, but this will affect a lot of our concessionaires. It will affect a lot of our carnival operators, a lot of our exhibitors. As far as the larger departments go, we may look at doing some of those events prior to the fair dates to be able to give everybody the largest audience that they can. So rather than approve dates at this meeting, I'm asking the board to amend the policy to include September in the possible dates.
Leah,
Yes, I agree. We need to amend our policy, but I would like to suggest, because this has been such an unusual couple of years, and we have thought that we were going to be having a fair this year. Obviously, that did not happen. And we are planning for fair next year. But rather in our policy, locking ourselves into July, August, or September, I would suggest that we say that we will have an annual fair and not be so specific, so that it gives us some leeway as to when we are able to have that fair. So that would be my suggestion.
Is that a motion, Leah?
Yes, I'd like to make that motion that we do more an annual fair rather than a specific month date. But I would like to hear what Dan has to say.
Well, Leah, I think that's probably a good solution, but I do think we should wait on any motion until after we've heard from all the public speakers.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, so yeah, let's go from there. But I think, yeah, we probably need a little bit more leeway. And I know everyone out there, especially with the animals, really everybody wants to know when that date's going to be. I'm not
Thank you,
sure
Dan.
if Barbara could allude to that more as we, as we get a little closer, if we have any idea when those dates might.
I do have some ideas, Dan. Unfortunately, I'm hesitant to announce them at this time because I just feel that it's going to create, before the board as a whole can look at those dates, I think there's going to be too much upheaval at this point. So I'd rather
lock it down.
Mhm. Yes.
let me ask a question or both. First of all, actually, I see a few people unmuted, so we're getting some feedback. So if you can just double check the people that are watching the meeting to make sure that at this point, only committee members and staff are unmuted. And then my question for this would be, as part of that motion, Leah, do you still want the 12 days or do you want for the number of days TBA, or however would that be considered part of the motion or a separate motion?
I would like it to be part of the motion, because again, we don't know if we're going to be able to have a 7-day, 10-day, 12, or if we're going to move to 14. I think we need some leeway. And also to Dan's point, I think we're talking about months or the policy changing, knowing that going ahead, we would always let the livestock people know well in advance of the time that they would need to purchase their animals. This just has to do with being a little more flexible, I guess, because we just don't know what our next year is going to be like.
And it affects all the departments. Time-wise, it probably affects livestock more than anything, but as long as we're 120 days from steer tagging, I think we're okay. And it would be much more time than that, but I know that time constraint is in there.
So this was, as coming out of executive committee, it is not definitive. It is a recommendation to the full board to the regular meeting. So, and the procedure would be if we were to have a motion pass through this committee, it would be a recommendation to the full board at the next meeting to change the policy. But that would be actually advisory at that time, because you don't vote on policy the day that you present. It would probably not be voted on until October.
Right.
So so that would be procedural, and this is a matter of just as I understand, freeing up the association to be more flexible if need be. So with that, do you have more comments, Dan or Leah, before we go to public comment?
No, that sounds good.
So we're looking for a second to Leah's motion.
I thought though it'd still be best to hear from all the public first, and then we could do the motion.
Well, we have a first and a motion. You can have comments after that and then vote, so that you have a motion to discuss, for the public to discuss and comment on. But I'm fine with that. If you prefer to wait, that's fine. We value public comment either way. Okay, so
Yeah, I prefer to wait.
okay, that's fine.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, so I see some hands up. Let's see. I don't know if, let me just start from the upper corner, because I'm not able to track in the order that their hand was raised, but everyone will be allowed to speak that wishes on this subject. If it's not on this subject, you'll have to be stopped, and there will be 3 minutes. So I see Brianne, if you would, and then Heidi, if you would track the time, please.
Yes.
Good morning, members of the Ventura County Fair Board. My name is Brianne Whitcomb, and I am actually joining you from Oklahoma City this morning. That's where I currently live. However, I was born and raised in Ventura County and was born on a 4th-generation family farming operation there. I first began exhibiting at the Ventura County Fair beginning at 5 with poultry, and continued bringing market lambs, breeding sheep, meat chickens, meat rabbits, and countless other projects to the fair until I graduated. The direct interactions I had with fairgoers who frequently asked questions about my projects, to the countless hours spent at home feeding, watering, and caring for my animals, had a direct impact on my life and was learning skills that are extremely valuable in my day-to-day life. But it also served as a valuable opportunity to communicate with members of the community and to highlight our rich agricultural heritage that we need to make sure we do not forget. My grandfather served directly on the Ventura County Fair Board for many years. My grandmother was extremely active in her own right within the county, and our family farming operation has been extremely supportive of the livestock auction for many years. I urge you, members of the Ventura County Fair, to make sure that you do host the 2022 Ventura County Fair. Some of the comments that have just been brought up in regards to, any month of the year, that is not really ideal. We do need to take into consideration, cattle, for instance, gestation period, that's 9 months. So yes, 120 days out from tag-in day. That sounds like a great idea in theory, but in reality, it's not. I have concerns about, moving it to a month that isn't in the summer. You're getting kids that are now going to be in school. You're taking kids out of school. You'll have people that won't be coming at all times of the day. And I think there needs to be a lot of consideration and a lot of thought put into all of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Brianne. Next, I see Kinsey Flame.
Kinsey, can you hear us?
Yes, I am ready to go. the Ventura County Fair is one of my fondest memories. You just got to hear from my sister while she raised lambs. I raised cows and pigs. Some of the things that I remember most are Uncle Leo's barn. Some of us remember him reading stories. The garden building that supports local businesses, the organizations that are supported by the fair. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's Ventura High School band that is supported by the funnel cake booth. Maybe Buena, I'm not sure. There's plenty other events around us that have happened, and there's ways to make it happen. Make it safe, mandate masks and social distance the lines. Revenue, charge a nominal fee for concerts. People will pay the amount. We are ready for these events to happen. Add more business sponsorships, do a fair pass, add in a micro brew fest, add in a local food festival where you're inviting local businesses, local restaurants to come in and have another event within the event to bring up those revenues. Advertising, get in with local influencers, newspapers, do PTA fundraisers. It's so disheartening to hear the conversations that have happened today between community members just up to this point and the fair board. It seems like there is a lack of transparency and communication. And to me, that's not something that the fair represents, what I know. And also the dates that you're talking about, pushing the fair to September. What about kids in school? How are you going to get people there during the day? You're going to cut the people that are at school. They're not going to be coming during the day. You're going to cut who's there. You're going to cut it in half. I really encourage you to keep it during the time that it was. I didn't see
Exactly.
I didn't see a problem with it, and turning it into a carnival and taking those kids in that local community feel out of it. Every one of our towns around here has a carnival. We do not need another carnival. We need our local fair back. There's a way to do it. There's a way to make it happen. And I encourage the fair board to keep it during the months that it was, and really encourage them to look within and look local and make this fair something that we can be proud of coming out of COVID, instead of taking the easy way out and cutting all of the things that we all love so dearly.
Next, I see Alex Flores. Hey, Alex.
Hello, everyone. The fact that you're even considering a fair for next year, I think that put a smile on everyone's face, I hope. But for sure, thank you very much for having us here, having me here. Definitely with the fair, considering the date change. Just like Kinsey mentioned, yes, we are starting school, and it makes it tough, especially with having such a difficult time transitioning back into school. And since we're here for the kids, I just think it would be a little bit of a challenge to be having a fair in September, and I just think also the fact that because kids are in school, those numbers during the day would be a challenge, although we can actually have field trips. If school is in session, we can have our field trips, our kids going on the field trips, which would actually could work during the day, and having other like teachers and administrators and community members that are sitting on the fair board, on our school board, can also attend. So there's a lot of pros and cons, but definitely if a July month would work, that would work best too. Thank you.
Alex, let's see. I see another Brianne.
Leslie Brianne, yes.
Yeah. Okay. There are two Briannes that wanted to speak. So please, I see Brianne's iPhone. Go ahead.
She's muted. Heidi, can you unmute her? Or Sarah?
I'm not sure if it's my phone. I already spoke.
There you go.
Okay, so that was two. All right, so we saw you twice then. So Brianne's iPhone is also...
No, I'm here. No, I'm here. It's a
okay,
separate
good.
Brianne.
All right, sorry for the confusion. All right, go right ahead then. And we hear you now.
Yeah, good. Yeah, Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to really kind of just add to what we've heard from the others. And I think coming out of this pandemic, and I pray as a nurse that we are truly coming out of this pandemic. I don't know if I'm being too optimistic right now or not, but I think that one of the most important things that we keep in mind is the sense of community and really rebuilding what that is. And I think that everybody is craving that. It's vital that we keep in mind the academic school year. These kids have missed enough. We're rebuilding that. Moving our 2022 fair into September would really put an impact or would not be supporting that. So I would vote against that. I think that it's vital that we take into consideration the community that we're serving. I think I heard Barbara state something along the lines that we're competing with the LA County Fair. I don't see the validity there. I don't see how we're competing there. We've had a successful fair many, many years in a row. Growing up my entire life in the county of Ventura, I just don't see how that's a factor, that we would need to move our fair into September because of an LA fair. I really want to keep in mind those that we're serving. If you are going to change the way that I'm not sure if you called it bylaws are stated, I think that it's vital that we put in there criteria that the association must announce to everybody with enough time frame. So those restrictions should be put in there. So if you're going to leave it open-ended to we'll host an annual fair, I think that it needs to also state that they need to share the dates before a certain amount of time, and that needs to be required and included. Leaving that open-ended that they could announce at any given time with the history of poor communication and transparency would really set those other programs like the ag programs up for failure. There needs to be a date and a length of time required for announcement.
So I just want to respond just quickly to you, Brianne. This is the first time that has ever happened, and that's because of COVID. Normally, we take our dates to the September board meeting. They're approved, announced. There has not ever been a time when that hasn't happened. And, you know, I hate to keep blaming COVID for everything, but COVID does have a big impact on how we're doing things now.
No, all I'm saying, it's as we go into and as we're discussing changing the way this is written, meaning not July or August, and leaving that open-ended that we will have an annual fair. If we're going to move towards that, then there also needs to be written criteria in there in regards to the length of time of which needs to be provided to the public or whoever. You know, a date of when that time frame will be announced.
Okay, thank you for that comment, Brianne. Do we have anyone else? Megan, I see your hand raised on this. Megan Hook.
Hi again. Yeah, it's just disappointing. I mean, you guys said you've talked about the dates for months, but yet you've never held the planning meetings that were supposed to be scheduled in June and then July and then August, and now it's the end of September, and a policy change will mean now October. And when you talk about we'll give enough notice for the livestock community, that's right now. That's right now. There's breeders involved. There's a whole bunch of people involved. It's not just about making an ear tagging date. So I would encourage this board who is serving this community, keyword serving, that you listen to the public and their needs and their desires, including the survey the fair held where the animals were one of the #1 attractions. And I feel like that was glossed over almost, that the animals could go at a separate time or that the fair might be pieced apart into different events. That would be a huge problem. And as many others have said, taking the kids out of school after almost 2 years of kids losing school time. And also, you're running a business. If you're running a business, you can't expect people in the middle of September who are in school, who are in work, who have other obligations now to show up and pay that gate fee. I know it's bigger than livestock, but this is a business and you're not going to have the concession sales. You're not going to have the gate sales by doing that. So I hope that you're taking the interest of the public who has wanted to express their opinions more than one time, who wants to do more than send an email, who wants to be involved and who wants to help. I hope you're taking that into consideration into these decisions.
Megan, I am going to clarify one thing. I think when we talk about competing with other fairs, we're not competing for dollars. We're competing for concessionaires and acts and suppliers and that sort of thing, that it makes it difficult when we're sitting on top of another fair. And again, I'll reiterate.
You're always competing for dollars, though. That's not.
We're not going to debate this. We're not going to
Gate
debate this.
fees.
Call to order.
Raising the gate fees and
I'm sorry,
you are out of
Megan.
order. This is not a back and forth.
We're not allowed to back and forth. I can clarify a statement. And at this point, I've seen LIUF Lace It Up Fitness waving her hand constantly for about 5 minutes. So you're next, please. So you can rest your hand. Go ahead, please.
Hello, this is Kimber Wilkinson, and I'm actually a food concessionaire with Palapa Taco and the Cookie Jar. Palapa Taco has been a stand at the Ventura County Fair for, I think, 40 years now, and we are very grateful. I myself, born and raised in Ventura, went to all the local schools, local colleges, and now I work for Ventura Unified School District, subbing until I'm gonna have a fair. I know we're gonna have it. I just wanted to thank you guys for your time, and I just wanted to reiterate on a couple things, but mainly I wanted to know, I respectfully make these comments. I feel left out of the loop like a lost puppy. I have been trying so hard to communicate, to get answers. I know this is my personal, and I know that I'm not the only one this has affected. For 2 years now, no fairs and no communication has made me feel super, super bummed out, to say the least. I don't want to be negative. I want to be part of the solution. If you guys do consider moving the fair, I would like you to reconsider whether it works or doesn't. I just want to put it out there. We used to have an October fair, and that was during the week that the kids are off school. So if that works for everybody and that's best interest, just kind of put that in your noggin and think about that. Barbara, I thank you very much as a concessionaire when you speak about overlapping another fair, because as a concessionaire that works with other fairs, packing up at that other fair and then hauling everything over to Ventura, it can be tough if you're a concessionaire overlapping. So thank you for that consideration, Barbara. That is vital. Another thing that I wanted to bring up was, and again, I don't want to be negative, but the way we found out about the quote unquote carnival being the fair, come back to your fair food that you love. I, as a concessionaire, knew nothing about that and found out via a friend who found out by Facebook. I don't want to be negative. I was bummed out. So if there's anything we can do, I would gladly be an active, positive part of helping with that. Anything. Like if I'm missing out, maybe that's me. I'm missing out on a list or something that I should be on. Kimber, I would love help and guidance.
Kimber, have you been calling Madeline?
Yes.
And Madeline was laid off, so she'll be coming back pretty soon, but okay. Which carnival are you talking about?
The one that was held at the Ventura Fair.
The Summerfest, that was not, we didn't put on that carnival. Another carnival company did.
I know, Barbara, but with all due respect, the perception was that it was a fair, and the way it was advertised was come enjoy the fair food you've grown to love. And as a food concessionaire, that killed me, because I'm like, wait, I've been there forever, but I didn't know anyway. I want to know if there's another venue that maybe I'm maybe missing out on. And like I said, I want to be part of the fix. So I'm all about that. if there's a way to communicate with the concessionaires, I would love to help with that, be on a committee. I don't know, Barbara, I would love to troubleshoot with you.
I think Madeline had sent a letter out to all of the concessionaires. I don't know myself, but
let's finish her public comment and then we can respond and you guys can connect offline.
Yeah, we got to try and stay close to that 3 minutes.
Yes, yes. And then I feel like I'm on the Grammys, you know, when you only have so much time, the bell's about to ring. But another thing is I do have ideas as a food concessionaire, how to, I don't want this to sound bad, but when we allow people to bring food into the fair, as a concessionaire paying 25% rent to the fair, which I'm glad to do because if I make it, I owe it. I'm more than happy to come up with a $5 meal ticket, have those kiddos come eat at my stand, the funnel cake, the Dippin' Dots, something to not, I hate saying this, but it's, the fair isn't free and we don't make money off of free. Maybe troubleshoot something like that. You know, I can make a mini quesadilla or bean burrito and a small soda and a churro for $5. And I'd love every kiddo to eat at my stand or my fellow concessionaire stand. So maybe put that into the thought process. Anyway, I do appreciate you guys. And I know this is crazy time. If there's anything that you guys want me to do, be on a committee, help with anything, garden, weed whack, I don't care. I just want a 2022 fair.
Thank you, Kimber.
May I speak?
I think Barbara was going to, were you done responding? And then what we're going to do is take the next comment. And
yes,
I see.
So Teresa Pellerino has been waiting like since the beginning. So
okay, all right, that's my bad because it's hard for me to track. Please go right ahead, Teresa. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for letting us have the opportunity to talk. One of the board members mentioned that they would let the kids know 60 days prior to tagging day when the fair would be, and that's not nearly enough time. We are breeding right now for next year's fair, so 60 days prior to tagging day isn't nearly enough time. I've been breeding pigs for the 4-H and FFA kids for years. We've been involved with the fair for over 40 years. We start our breeding process right after fair is over. So 60 days prior to tagging day is not enough time. You need to, if you're going to change a fair date for the animals and for the FFA, 4-H, independent, Grange, and all those, we need to know for the smaller large animals, the pigs, the sheep, and the goats, we need to know at least a year in advance. And for the steers and the beef, even a year and a half, I would think. I'm not involved in the beef, but I know that 60 days prior to tagging day will not work.
Teresa, let's see. Michelle Nunez.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to comment that I agree with what Teresa said and what Megan Hook said. The animals are a huge part of the fair and the ag community does need to know now when to breed their animals. 120 days out is not a sufficient amount of time. So I just wanted to put in that comment as well, that I completely agree with them. Thank you.
I'm going to respond real quickly to all of that. I didn't say 60 days in advance. I said I know that the animals, the steer tagging is 120 days. That doesn't have anything to do with the days that we're setting the fair. The fair will be, the fair dates will be set in plenty of time for everyone to have tagging, not within 60 days. I may have said that incorrectly, or it may have been received incorrectly, but it won't be 60 days.
Am I still on?
Yes.
Okay. No, where the point is we're making is that breeders need to know ahead of time for gestation periods for the animals. Most animals take anywhere from 3, 4, 6 months gestation periods. So that's what I wanted to comment. You know, there's gestation period, there's weaning time, and then before the kids can even purchase the animal, and then time to raise them.
That's right, because the animals are at
Oh,
least 3 to
sorry,
4
Teresa,
months
out of order. You've already had your chance. I'm sorry. Going to try and maintain order here. Give everybody their fair shot. Michelle, you want to continue?
No, I think I said it. I mean, there's gestation period, there's weaning, there's a several amount, there's months involved before the kid can even purchase the animal to then raise it for 3 to 4 months to get to the fair. So there does need to be known so the breeders can take care of this for the kids. That's all.
Thank you, Michelle. I see Emily Ortega. We need the, we can hear you, but you're, Emily, excuse me, we can hear you, but you're very garbled.
You're gonna need to turn your video off. We can't hear. I think your connection's poor.
So is that better?
A little better.
You sound very far away.
I'm sorry. I'm actually at school right now, but
you're
so
okay.
I'm part of Carpenter FFA, and I just wanted to thank you guys first of all for having the board meeting and considering the fair, because truly from a student's perspective, you guys even considering the fair is super exciting. So I've been involved in agriculture my whole life. Animal agriculture, I barely started my freshman year of high school, and that was the only year that I got to experience the Ventura County Fair. That week, truly, it's the best memory I have, and it was such a great experience, which actually inspired me. I'm going to college now for livestock, and maybe I'm still not quite sure, but I know I want to do something with livestock because I loved it so much. But I just wanted to say, and on that note, especially for us seniors, how would that work if the fair were to be in September or something for college? Because we would leave in August so I was just kind of wondering and maybe take into consideration about that. And then, yeah, I really wanted to point that out, that for breeders, it does take a lot of time. And I know at least right now, I'm already on lists for a couple breeders, which they're already starting to take note of what is going on and when the fairs are going to be, to start planning ahead, as well as from us, for our student perspective, we're starting to plan, okay, so am I able to raise an animal or not, just even in the financial standing of saving for it. So yeah, I just wanted to make that a point, but I just wanted to thank you guys too for even considering having a Ventura Fair.
Thank you, Emily. Let's see, looking on my screen. Okay, I see Scott Tolan raising hand, so please go ahead, Scott. Unmute.
All right, thank you very much. I don't, we've had all these fairs going on from Mid-State and the Santa Barbara County Fair and our fair and LA and Orange County. We've had all these fairs going on, all synchronized for years and years and years and years. And now all of a sudden it seems like we're getting in line late. Why don't we just make a choice when we're going to be there, and let's have everybody work around that. I understand not duplicating on top of other fairs, but we haven't duplicated on top of other fairs all this entire time. And we're talking about, in fact, in the last fair board meeting, you yourself, Leslie, said it takes an entire year to plan a fair, and you kind of were chastising us for maybe not understanding that. Well, we get it. In fact, it takes even longer. So if we're not going to make a decision, and obviously you guys have had a lot of these conversations, Barbara said you kind of have some ideas of what's going on, but we're not going to hear about it. What about us weighing in? We said all along, what about the planning meetings? We have a lot of those opportunities, and it's not just about the livestock, although that's critical. I was a breeder like Teresa was for so many years. You got to have way more information than you guys are talking about. The other aspect is this: if you guys don't really make a decision until October, you don't understand how much money you're missing on sponsorships. Your leader for your sponsorships, great guy, Marty Lieberman, was bringing in close to $500,000 a year, maybe even a little bit more. I mean, for years and years and years, I was one of those guys that was giving you $75,000 a year for a sponsor. those decisions are made now. If you, by the time you get to October, that money's dried up. Fiscal years in so many cases, by the time we wait until October or November and start soliciting sponsorships, you're really handicapping the ability to bring that money in. If you're starting to talk about revenue, just look at the sponsorship side of it. I mean, I happen to be involved in another group here, as you guys all know, and we were able to pull something off because it was all privately funded. And those things are all critical, to importance. We're just all frustrated. And you heard some other people say frustrated. We're still not involved in this process. You keep saying we're going to be, then we're not, and then we're not, and then we're not. And we're trying to be positive, but when we send emails and they don't get responded, when we raise our hands and it's basically ignored, when we can't get through to anybody get answers, when we go through the Public Records Act process, and the time and the clock starts ticking, then there's no feedback on when that information is going to come. There's just an entire lack of communication or respect for what the community has to offer. You've got a lot of people that can help with this. Expertise, experience, previous knowledge, 40-year histories, as you're hearing. I've been in this community for 50 years as well. And we're not involved. We're not involved in anything. Plus the financial support. We just pulled off an 805 Ag Kids Invitational and a junior livestock auction because neither the fair nor the foundation were involved. They completely were hands off. So we went in and did it. Our numbers were better per kid on average than had it been done in years and years and years. You guys doing it your way. We keep hearing from you that the norm's working, your way works. It doesn't work. We need to get involved and you need to have us help. When we say we can help, we can bring money, we can bring sponsors, we can bring organization, we can bring experience. We want to be positive. We want to help. Not one time have we been invited to help. Not one time have we been invited to that table. I've met with you personally, Leslie. I've met with Barbara personally. I've offered other ways to save the fairgrounds $75,000 a year. And you know what I hear? Send me an email. We just had an entire meeting. In some cases, I met with you, Leslie, for almost 2 hours. I met with Barbara for an hour and a half. And then after the meeting's over, I don't know, I was taking notes. I don't know what you guys are doing. It's like, we'll put it in, send me an email. Well, I do, and nothing happens. So we want to be positive. We don't want to be a part of the problem. We want to be a part of the solution. You have a ton of community people that can help you, and you're just shunning us completely, and we're not involved. And so here we go with Barbara saying, hey, we thought of some dates, but we're not going to tell you right now because we need to bring it to the board. Well, if more than one of you have talked about those dates, even if it wasn't in a meeting, you guys got some issues, and I think you know about that. You're experts at Bagley Keen. Look it up. So that's what I have to say. We want to be a part of it. We want to help. We can help. We've proven we can help. Why do you keep shunning us and saying no and ignoring the public that's saying communicate with us and let us be a part of the process?
Okay, thank you for that, Scott.
Julie?
Okay. Yes.
Hi,
Sarah?
is it my turn?
Yeah, I'm just naming names of people that have had their hands up still.
Okay, great. Thanks, Julie.
Hi, I'm with 4-H and I'm really excited you guys are going to do the fair considering the dates. It's important to our enrollment. We're doing enrollment now and families are making decisions on whether or not they're going to sign up and get animals. So I don't think waiting till October is great. I really was hoping to get a fair date so we can announce it and people have real confidence that there will be a fair so we can get our enrollment numbers back up. So I'm short and brief, but I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Julie. Do we have anyone else? I don't see the technical hand up anywhere. Okay, I see one. Yep. Robin, is that the one where you're talking about as well? Okay, Robin, go ahead. Robin T.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I'm on my phone and I'm trying to make this work and it's complicated. But
You're fine.
Thank you so much for having everybody, for having us, for letting us make our comments. I am a club leader of a 4-H chapter in the CMU Conejo Valley. And I just wanted to reiterate what Julie Solomon was saying, that we are doing our enrollments right now. And it's having these dates and knowing that there's a fair is a really big component as to whether or not our families sign up for certain projects and get prepared to go to the fair and start saving money for those animals, things like that. And I also have been doing the large and small livestock at the Ventura County Fair for quite a few years now. And I've led quite a few of the projects, and I have a lot of kids that come with me to the fair and they show their large animals and their small animals. And I've got to say that the dates in August are really helpful for us because I, as a parent of a 13-year-old, my daughter's in 8th grade, she lost a lot of learning over COVID, and she's in person now, and school is a really big priority for us to bridge that gap. And if we have fair dates during school, there's no way that she can miss school to come to the fair. We would not be able to do the bulk of the projects that we do. When we go to the fair, we are there because we do small and large livestock. We're there every single day, the whole time. We're there the first week and the second week. We pay that entrance fee every day. We eat at the fair. We play the games. It's a big deal for us. And for all the parents and the kids that come along with us, I mean, we really support the fair both weeks. But if we have dates, fair dates that are competing with school, I don't even know how many kids I would be able, and parents I would get to sign up to come to the fair. So I really, really would hope that you guys would think about the local kids, the Ventura County kids, and their school dates when you think about the fair, and also having the dates earlier for us, like everybody said, you know, a year in advance for these projects. We're getting in line, getting on waiting lists for our animals that are being bred now for the 2022 fair. And it's really hard to get our parents and our kids to get in line and put their deposits in on animals if they don't even know if they're going to be able to show up at the fair because of conflicting school dates. So I just really, really wanted to let you guys know, we in Conejo Simi, we are really excited to have a 2022 fair. I've got lots of kids and families that can't wait to be back. And we really hope that the dates are going to be conducive to our kids being able to do the fair and also prioritize school. So that was really everything I wanted to say. So thank you very much.
Robin, do we see anyone else with public comment on this item?
I don't see any more hands.
Okay, I'm going to say last call for comment. Okay, who is that?
Hello? I don't know.
We see a phone number, but we don't see a hand, and that's because you're calling in. So go right ahead if you have public comment. Go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm Dawn, and I'm with Valley Flower Show Pigs. And our kids have been through, the Cullinane kids and the Enos kids have been, Rob and I's kids have been through the fair for many years. I'm sure some of you know who I am and some of you don't. But irregardless of that, I'm just kind of really confused as to why at this point we're trying to push the fair to September when, like Teresa said and many of the other people said, like, we've already bred our pigs. We push it till September and maybe they'll be okay still for these kids and maybe they won't. But that's from July. 3 months is way too big of a window to try to, for breeders. And I'm just talking pigs. As they've mentioned before, cattle, that's a whole other ball game. I don't think that much thought has gone through when this idea has been put out that you're going to add a whole nother month. It just sounds like, I don't know. It's very confusing to me. So I would say, I would ask that you consider, if you're going to include different dates to go to, that you at least wait another full year to do that. So, and do it a year in advance so everybody knows what's going on and can plan accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I think Alex and Teresa Pellerino.
Did she already speak? Did she speak already?
May I say something? Oh.
I think everyone is allowed one person per, one comment per, because otherwise you're going into other minutes, and then everyone else could do the same. So
I think I saw Heather Waters, Leslie.
Pardon?
I saw Heather Waters, I think. Did she want to speak?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. Thanks for helping. Heather, go right ahead, please.
I appreciate your guys' time, but it's very frustrating hearing that you guys are planning or thinking about having the fair during the school year. I can tell you right now, a handful of kids who will not take a week off, 3 days off, 2 days off. I mean, I know my own kids don't even want to go to a doctor's appointment for an hour. So I think that is asking a lot. I think it should be a summer event. I was at the Paso Robles Fair, the Mid-State Fair this summer. They put on a great program. My cousins all have 4-H animals. They were able to do it. I think we can do it. I want to be positive. I want this to happen for our community, for Ventura County. I mean, I think back last summer, my daughter put her deposit down on her mini steer in Iowa in July. She purchased her animal in July and he was delivered in October to Ventura County. October is in a few weeks. What do we do? That's where we're at. And for the steer group in Ventura County, that's a problem. And it's too late. I mean, we need to decide now. And like another person said earlier, budgets for the kids. These kids are doing it on their own. And if we didn't have 805 Ag Kids, I don't know what these kids would have done last year. So I thank you, Megan and Mr. Tolan, for doing that. It's just very frustrating. I mean, I look back, way back in the years, and my dad was in the FFA at Camarillo, and they were at the fair, and he still talks about those stories. So I don't know. I think we need to figure something out where we can all work together and get this moving for 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Okay, anybody else? I'm going to say last call.
Natalie Gonzalez, I don't think she's spoken.
Yeah,
okay.
I haven't.
Okay, go ahead, please, Natalie.
Okay, hi. So I'm like talking or speaking on behalf of the Carpenter FA, and I am a senior this year. So it's just because I haven't really been like I guess you could say like I haven't been raising so many years, but the very few years I had during my freshman year, it was like literally the best experience ever. But because of the whole COVID thing and then raising my sophomore year, it was just kind of a struggle just because COVID hit and there really wasn't much, to do in regard to raising. So, and then now since I'm like a senior, I'm going to college. I'm planning to go to college and I'm raising a steer this year. I just find it, just difficult to push the date forward. And it should be like, we should decide on a date just because, I mean, I am going to college and oh, sorry. Did I mute?
Yeah, we just missed like the last couple words, but you did mute yourself excellently. Go ahead.
Like I was saying, because I am going to college, I guess money is like a very big issue right now, just saving up. And then the date being forward, it just doesn't allow me and like, several other students to even have the funds ready to like have a plan, schedule or like not in schedule, really just like a plan agenda in regards to raising. And it's just very difficult for those who don't have the funds, especially just being like, okay, first this date, but it's being a student and like going to college is just really difficult just because, I mean, where are we going to get the money really? Especially like a job and school.
Are you done, Natalie? I know because you muted yourself before. I just want to make sure you're finished. Are you done? Okay, I don't hear her back.
And
all right.
Brianna
Barrington? Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Brianna Barrington. I'm an ag teacher at Santa Paula High School. I just wanted to ask if you guys could restate the motion on hand here.
There's no current motion. They wanted to have the public first.
Okay, and so also just for clarification, has there been an official decision that there will be a fair? Is that why we're talking about dates or?
Given that we don't control the entire world, it is the absolute intent of this fair board to have a fair next year. Is that good enough?
Yes, thank you.
I don't think I see anybody else.
Hey, Leslie, this is Justin Peters with Bardsdale.
Go ahead. You want to speak? Go ahead.
I do, just quickly. Sure. So I was just looking at, some adjacent counties, fair dates, looking at LA. It looks like they're in May, generally speaking. The state fair is middle of July, generally speaking. Orange is middle of July. It looks like they run a little bit longer. Mid-state is in the middle of July. Santa Barbara's in the middle of July. So I would really challenge the Fair Board to say, is there truly a conflict? I mean, I don't know the integral details of running a fair, getting vendors, etc., but it looks like there's not a lot of conflict. And so I would really challenge, like, is it truly, what is the real reason that it's getting moved or being proposed to move? Because first pass, it looks like there's not a lot of conflict. So I would really want to understand, is it truly conflict, or is there some other driving force? So I just want the Fair Board to really take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. All right. Everybody searching, looking for hands.
I think that's it.
Okay. So we will call this a closing of public comment on item 3 of the discussion and possible action regarding fair dates. And so public comment officially closed on that item. And so we go back to the committee to have either discussion or action. Dan?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I really did appreciate all those comments and concerns, and we have all those, concerns as well. And, and I just kind of want to remind people that it's not like we wanted to do anything other than put on the fair. It's just been because of COVID, really, that we haven't been able to be, we needed to stay a little bit more flexible. And I understand too that it might be a hardship, definitely be a hardship during September. If the things don't pan out the way we would like them, I mean, there was one comment I heard about during the October school break that might just not saying that's what I propose. I'm just saying that might be a possibility if we couldn't do it in late July or early August. And I also know that, a lot of the vendors that we use and carnival operators too are down there at Orange County. And so that, it's always been pretty close timeline, and it has worked pretty well for a number of years with only a few days having to change. I do like having the flexibility of our CEO to try to figure it out, because she's been doing it all these years to make sure that we get in to the right space that we need to be. I just wanted to kind of put that out there before we look at a motion. And I, suggest that we do our best to hit it where we've hit it before, if possible. That's it.
Leah, did you have a comment, or did you want to make a motion at this point?
I do have a comment. This is Leah for those on the phone. I concur with everything that Dan said, and we are only looking for some flexibility. So far, we've been in cement as to when our dates were. And also the vendors follow a fair circuit. And just because we don't overlap certain fairs, we do overlap other fairs. And this goes to not only concessionaires, but for rides and other things that usually happen at the fair. We're trying to take all this into consideration. So having said that, I would like to restate my motion that, and this will be referred to the full board for a decision. But I would recommend, or my motion is to look at our policy manual and make the changes that would give us some flexibility, not just to eliminate the months as stated, and say that we will have, the motion should read, an annual fair, period. and take out the number of days also, because that could also depend on our vendors and ride operators and other things that have to do with the fair. So maybe that wasn't very concise.
Okay, so I understand the motion to be recommend to the full board to make a policy change on the fair to eliminate specific dates and specific numbers of days of the fair.
Correct.
Is that okay?
I would second that, and I would like to make some comments on it. I'd like to see, do our best to try to find a date. If our CEO has, by next week, any idea of when that might actually be, that would be great. So at least, we could say that that's our, might be what we're going to try to get done. And until we can solidify it, that would be good if we can get any advance notice out at all. And I appreciate how hard this is. And I know how everybody is so frustrated. We all are frustrated. But it's not just been about business as usual. And it's not like we have staff. There's hardly anybody left at the fairgrounds. So there's a very few people doing a lot of work to try to make all this happen. And frankly, they've been exemplary in getting things done and having a fairgrounds that's still open. We are stewards of the fairgrounds, every one of our board members, to keep this fairgrounds operating and open. And it's been all we can do just to keep the fairgrounds operating. So we're doing the best that we can, and we will continue to do that to serve the community, as we are all our volunteers trying to do the best that we can for all of the county. So I would just say that in my long second.
I appreciate your comments, Dan, very much, because I too feel the same. And I do remember when the fair was in October, and it worked very well. And we are talking also about other changes that we might make that might be able to accommodate students that we know are in school. We know how difficult it is on a school day, but we are going to do our best to embrace the entire community and make it as welcoming as possible and still be fiscally responsible, because it is our duty to make sure that our fairgrounds is responsible. So with that, I'm ready to vote.
Okay.
Are you able to share those ideas of what you just spoke of? What are the ideas to?
That's actually, Brianne, I'm sorry, you're out of order. We are not taking public comment at this time. And it is also not a topic that's on our agenda. And I hope the governor appreciates the fact that we're working really hard to protect the state by holding meetings that are appropriately held. Okay, Heidi, would you kindly call the vote?
Yes. Director Long?
Yes.
Vice President Lacayo?
Yes.
And President Cornejo?
Yes. Motion carries unanimously, and this will be on the agenda for next Tuesday's meeting. Okay, so let's move on to item number 4, gun show policy discussion. And Barbara, I think, did you want to present some of the comments, or I'm just trying to figure out the order here, whether we should go ahead and present what we have heard from legal, and then we can go to comments. And I can also, I was at the meeting as well. I can go ahead with that if you want.
I'm happy to report what we were told in our discussion with legal. 2 years ago, we had many discussions, many meetings, and the board set a policy. We are bound by that policy until the policy is changed. So in a conversation this morning, we must hold the gun show until the policy is changed. And Sarah, you may want to chime in on anything that I'm leaving out of this from our discussion with legal. We do know that because it's a policy, it has to go to the board to be changed. We haven't had a gun show since February of 2000. And that's when the pandemic.
2020.
Pardon me?
2020, you said 2000.
Oh, 2021, sorry. No, 2000, 2000, 2020, I'm sorry. All those numbers are running together now. I'm advocating for the board to follow their policy until the time comes that they wish to change it.
If I may, and this is, we are not voting on this. This is just a discussion on what we have learned by our consultation with legal, because this is, will be, it has been on our agenda and it will be on our agenda on Tuesday. So in the meantime, we've had discussions with legal at state level to ask the questions. You know, it's been made pretty very clear that if we do not follow our policy, that we are putting ourselves in legal jeopardy. Going back in a bit of history, I'll explain. Del Mar eliminated gun shows. They were sued and lost, and the legal fees ended up in the $500,000 range. So this is partially what's at stake. We've discussed Constitution. We've discussed Second, First, and 14th Amendments, and it is our duty to preserve those rights for the fair. First Amendment is the right to assemble with like-minded people, legal activity. 14th Amendment is we cannot discriminate against any particular person or body based on their differences. And so in preservation of constitutional rights, we would need to change our policy in order to not have a gun show, but in changing the policy, we still can't break the law because it will leave us open to litigation. And so we are in a terrible quandary at this point because it is our duty to preserve the law, preserve the rights of those that we are involved with, that come to the fairgrounds, are involved by contract by our fairgrounds. And it is up to, and so far they have failed us, it is up to the legislators to change the law because we are not legislators. We do not make or change the law. We obey it. And this is our challenge. We did not jump into changing policy because we were waiting to see if legislation would come through that would support making any changes in our policy. And legislation was proposed this year. It was co-sponsored by Senator Monique Limon to eliminate gun shows at certain state fairgrounds. My understanding, and I think Barbara knows a little more about this, is that during that legislative process at stage 6 of 8, Ventura County was pulled from that. So the only state that was left in the legislation was Orange County. We don't know why. It could be assumed that perhaps the state only wants to fight one lawsuit rather than many, because whenever anything changes, there will be litigation. And if this is something that we as a fair board cannot afford. And so we are bound by laws and we are bound by our policies. And until we can change our policies by, you know, what Barbara is saying, and what we understand by our legal counsel, we do, and incidentally, legal counsel can let us know what we should do. But if we go against that, we will be paying those legal fees, not the state. So we would be setting ourselves up to litigation on something that could end up in the Supreme Court. And I'm not sure that our association is ready for that. So I do feel that for those who wish the gun shows to stop on the fairgrounds, that their advocacy so far has failed with the legislators. And that is where it can be changed. And that would be how we could change it were we to decide to change the policy. But at this point, our policy allows the gun shows. We have had in practice gun shows. And so our understanding is that the recommendation is that we should continue to approve these until policy change. So I don't know if, Barbara, go ahead.
I had an interesting conversation with Senator Limon, and she explained to me what happened with the bill. They were very disappointed, and I let her know that we were disappointed as well, because for us, when the governor says you can no longer have gun shows on state property, we obey that. So far, the only two places that he has said that is at the Cow Palace and Del Mar. Del Mar's was not effective until January 1st of this year. I believe that Senator Min had put the legislation in for Orange County. Everyone that had signed on to it was not aware that it was going to be pulled. Even she told me even Senator Min was surprised at what happened. So what we can do is just hope that this goes through next year, if that's the wishes of the board of directors, and we will follow those. But she did understand the problem that we were under and why we have to follow our policy.
Yeah, and Leslie?
Yes, go ahead, please, Dan.
Thank you, both you and Barbara, for clarifying a lot of that. And as I believe, I don't think the governor has signed the one bill that had passed, the one county. And I believe that legislatures, I think Senator Limon is planning to bring that back next year. And so, for those that want to end the gun shows at the state fairgrounds, at least for ours, should advocate, and ask their legislators to do it. And that's kind of where we ended up a couple of years ago. Nothing seemed to happen, and then finally something did. And so not everything gets through in the first push. So maybe next year it will, and we will follow that.
And let us just say that will at least allow us to open up the debate, okay? Because we are interested in preserving the interests and rights of everyone in our community, and we'll take special care of them all. But at this point, we don't have a lot of choices that don't put us in jeopardy if we don't go forward. That is our understanding after discussions with legislators and our legal. So. Leah, did you have any comment beyond, or if not, we can move on to public comment. We just really wanted to advise the executive committee of what we've learned. That was our charge, was to find out what the legal circumstances were, what the current state of what we can and cannot do legally on this. So.
And I thank you, Barbara and Leslie, both for having those discussions. And I was, I'm disappointed, of course, because I was hoping that the legislature would do something. But obviously, we do have a policy in place, and we are bound to follow our own policies. And with that, that's all I have to say.
And just to reiterate, we can't just say, yes, let's change the policy without some legal basis for those changes. And so it can't be just an emergency meeting to do such a quick act without very thoughtful and legal process to make sure we have a foundation for that change as well. So. With that though, I know we have public comment. Is our committee ready for those then at this point? We're not acting, we're just advising what we have learned from all of these people that we've spoken to. But I would wholeheartedly be happy to hear and open up public comment at this point for anyone that's ready. So if you'll put your hands up.
Peters has had her hand up.
Yep, I see a couple hands already. Yes, Karen, please go right ahead.
Good morning. I think it's a given. I disagree with 99% of what you just said. Throwing out Constitution a few times doesn't really make it fly. But given that, you know, when I saw it listed on your agenda as gun show policy, I really tried to refresh my memory of the past couple of years and went into minutes and so forth. Certainly I didn't study everything, but and I looked at your committee report too, your June 2019 committee report. And it was very disturbing. I mean, you know, you took the Templeton line and just presented it as your own. You know, family friendly, a place for sharing of information and an opportunity to receive education. Really? Have you guys ever gone to the gun shows at the fairgrounds? Not as an honored guest to be squired around. I mean, as an individual that just pays the fee and walks in the door. It is definitely not family friendly. But anyway, back to your policy. And that's when I got curious. And, you know, when I was reading the minutes, like, oh yeah, I remember that. You voted on a policy 2 years ago and months. The policy was to hold gun shows on the fairgrounds. And it was tied. It did not pass. Now, there was a vote after that.
Karen, I'm sorry. Yeah, we just for clarification, and I'll give you an extra minute after my clarification. We did have a first vote, and then we had a second vote, which did carry, which was made by Director Cuevas and was supported by the board at that time.
And given your comments, I couldn't go back and look at the minutes yet again, but I did see that, you know, you voted to honor your contract to the end of the year. It's not a policy. You were just saying, okay, we got a contract, we're going to do it. And yeah, let's have some education in there, which of course, education is that's a loaded thing, you know. Okay, let's teach kids about guns, not about the laws and the dangers and everything. And I question whether there's any education there, but that's another topic. But in there also, in those minutes, it said you referred it to this committee to work on a gun show policy 2 years ago. Now, I did see that. Are you saying that it wasn't referred to you to work on a policy 2 years ago? And has there been one created?
And if I can reiterate what I stated in my comments, we shouldn't be doing the back and forth, but I am clarifying what was said. It was referred to our committee, and it was determined through this committee that legislation needed to be passed, which has not.
That doesn't strike me as a policy. Okay. I mean, you know, policies can be guidelines, rules, regulations, principles, directions. I looked up for the definition. That's your decision. But I would like to suggest a policy. Something like, after long and sober consideration, the Ventura County Fairgrounds has decided to listen to community concerns and discontinue having gun shows on our property. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
Beth Mansfield?
Madam President, just
I'm
a
sorry, yes,
point.
go ahead, Dan.
So, I'm not sure how many speakers that we have, but are we still 2-3 minutes for this session of speaking?
Yes, for all public comments, yes.
Okay, thank you. And also I would just, you know, I think it's hard not to, I think we should just wait until everybody makes their comments and we can, you know, look at them and quit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Hello.
Beth, go ahead, please.
Good morning. I'm Beth Mansfield, a 25-year Ventura resident, a mom, as well as a gun violence prevention activist. I'm currently working with our state and local legislators on legislation banning gun and ammo sales on state-owned property, as we were directed by the board earlier, I believe 2.5 years ago. While my hope is that no gun shows are allowed on our fairgrounds, today I'll focus on ending the sale of ghost guns at future gun shows held here. A refresher for you, ghost guns are do-it-yourself kits that include everything needed to make an unserialized and untraceable, fully functioning deadly weapon. And yes, they are allowed to be sold by the gun show dealers and the promoter you work with, and ostensibly now by you, the Fair Board Executive Committee. When I attended the last Ventura County Fair gun show, February 8th, 2020, there were literally hundreds of untraceable firearms being sold on fair property. As of August 2021, the LAPD says 1/3 of all weapons recovered are ghost guns. A lawsuit brought last month by 2 LAPD officers who were shot with a ghost gun alleged that the kit maker, quote, purposely sold their product without markings to make it difficult for law enforcement to trace the firearm. The lawsuit also contends that, quote, defendants knew and could foresee but consciously disregarded the risk that they were creating and contributing to a direct and secondary market for illegal, unserialized, and untraceable guns, knowing that their firearms were likely to end up in the hands of criminals and were likely to be used for criminal purposes. And now that you, the Fair Board Executive Committee, know this, aren't you concerned with your legal exposure on this? You should be. You are knowingly allowing unserialized pseudo DIY gun kits to be sold on state-owned property at these gun shows in Ventura. When the next legal move in this fight to ban the sale of ghost guns comes about, do you want it to read, the board of directors of the Ventura County Fair and the CEO knowingly allowed the sale of untraceable ghost guns on state-owned property? I know one of your top priorities is to avoid costly legal fights from the gun show owners, but you should also begin to prioritize your exposure from suits like these. While ultimately I'm asking you not to allow the sale of any guns or ammo at our fairgrounds, but today I'm humbly requesting a compromise. End the sale of ghost guns at your board-approved gun shows. I also request that metal detectors be required for gun shows at our fairgrounds, since my family and the rest of our community must go through them for the 12 days of the fair. Finally, I have submitted a public records request for information regarding the last 5 years of gun shows and look forward to receiving it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth. Do we have anyone else?
I think Mr. O'Reilly wanted to speak.
Okay.
Hello, thank you very much.
Please, go ahead. Yes, thank you.
For catching that. Thank you. Okay, so as I stated earlier, thank you very much, Madam President and board members, for allowing me to speak. My name is Robert O'Reilly, and I am Chief of Staff for Supervisor Carmen Ramirez, and I'm going to make a statement on her behalf. Before I make that statement, I will say I do understand the comments that were made earlier about legislation needed to be changed. So I'll make this statement for the record and for your future consideration. In its mission statement, the 31st DAA proclaims in part to promote, support, educate, celebrate, and preserve the diverse culture and traditions of our county. And it is my hope that the board does just that. The culture and traditions of Ventura County, which we should be promoting, supporting, and celebrating, are health, safety, and human life, not the sale of and profit from firearms. California saw a rise of more than 40% in firearm homicides in 2020 and a 39.2% increase in assaults with firearm. The increase in firearm deaths accounts for 91% of the overall jump in homicides in our state just last year. In my district of Greater Oxnard, almost every day someone is arrested for illegal firearms. Yes, the gun shows do not allow illegal firearms to be sold, but indeed, gun shows tell our county, and especially our youth, that guns are okay. This is not appropriate for a state agency such as your fairgrounds board. There are private businesses that cater to people who want to purchase guns, and that is how it should be. To repeat, the state should not promote guns or gun culture in any way. Nearly half of the deaths reported in our county are from the Latino community, as they make up about 40% of Ventura County's population. African Americans, while making up a mere 2% of our county's population, made up a third of all deaths in the state. These are our friends, our neighbors, and family. We must do a better job at protecting all of us from gun violence. Easy access to guns, acceptability of guns, and promotion of them makes it easy for the despondent and desperate to take their lives with a gun. Let's do our part to make it harder to take our lives away by gun violence. Not long after the horrific borderline shooting, cities within the county, including Oxnard, and even the Ventura County Board of Supervisors, adopted policy statements opposing gun shows at the fairgrounds. I hope that today your board will agree. I urge you to consider discontinuing gun shows at the fairgrounds. Thank you so much for your time.
Do we have anyone else that would like to speak?
I don't see anyone.
Okay, I'm going to give a last call because every time I do, I find another hand. So forgive me on that. All right. Okay, so I will close public comment on the gun show policy discussion. And again, there was no action expected or motion to be presented at this time. This was advisory. And so this information will also go out to the full board as a report next Tuesday. And I believe also this, then the item for the gun show will be on that agenda as well. So I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. So, but advisory and also a vote, expected vote on a future gun show. Okay, so do we have any future? Yes.
I guess if it's possible to get some more information about the ghost guns. I mean, I didn't know that we had those at our, at sales on, at our fairgrounds the last time there was a fair gun show. So I'd just like to find out if that's what's going on with that, get some details about that, if possible.
Dan, I just texted legal to see if we're able to make a change to the contract. And if the board wanted to eliminate ghost guns, I'll wait to hear back from them. When I have the information, I'll give it to all three of you, and then it'll be presented at the next board meeting.
Okay, good.
Thank you. I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah. We're all trying to keep up with all the changes that happen and stay on top of it all. So thank you. I look forward to that report. Future agenda items, anything at this point? Doesn't mean we won't have another meeting or agenda items on it, but anything to be added at this point? All right.
I think we have our plate pretty full all the time anymore.
Okay, Stu. All right. And then with that, we will officially adjourn the meeting. And I appreciate everyone's attendance. I appreciate everyone's comments and your patience through the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.